Hi there guys, Lewis here. Today we're going to be doing a tutorial on how to create an earthquake effect in UE4. This will be done in three main steps. So first of all, we'll be creating the actual earthquake sound in Logic Pro 10. And then we'll actually be creating the earthquake and camera shake system in UE4. And then we'll be implementing the sound. Okay, so let's get started. Okay then guys, the first thing we need to do is create that, stereotypical low bassy earthquake rumble, which would be the core aspect of our earthquake sound effect. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to open Logic Pro 10, create a new empty project, and we want to create an audio track, but what we need to do is change the output of that audio track to bus 1, and then click create. Okay, so what we want to do is double click on that audio track and rename it to test tone. And then we want to double click underneath that audio track to create another audio track. Okay, and we're going to rename that Earthquake Rumble. Okay, just like that. Right, so now what you want to do is on the Earthquake Rumble track, you want to set the input to bus 1, as it says here, test tone. That means this track will be recording from the output of the test tone track. Okay, and now we're going to create a test oscillator on the test tone track. So before we do that, you want to mute it so you don't get blasted with a sine wave. Okay, and once you're on it, you go down to Audio Effects, down to Utility, to Test Oscillator, and then Mono. Okay, you won't hear anything yet because the test tone track is muted, but you want to select white noise, okay, and you just want to test that that is working by unmuting the track. So as you can see, it is now outputting sound. Okay, right, so the next thing you need to do, we can close that, is you want to record on the Earthquake Rumble track, okay? You're going to click Record Enable, okay? And then when you're ready, you want to unmute the test tone track here, and then press record. We're going to record around 4 or 5 bars of the white noise here, okay? So we're just going to do that now. And then when you're done, you just mute the test tone track again. Okay, so here we go. We have our white noise recorded here. Okay, so what we want to do is set our locators to auto set locators. Okay, so then when we click on the cycle region by pressing C, the cycle region is automatically set to the same length of the white noise thing, creating a very seamless loop. Okay, so if we listen to that, we just have our basic white noise sound. So what we want to do, we want to make this nice and bassy and rumbly. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is instantiate an equalizer. So we want to double click on the EQ here. Brings up our graphic EQ. So first of all, we want to go on the high shelving filter, okay, and set that to around 900 Hertz. And we want that to be minus 24 dB, okay. And you want to go on the low shelving filter and set that to around 300 Hertz. And we want that to be around plus 15 dB, okay. So if we listen now, it would make the white noise much more bassy and a bit more rumbly. As you can hear, it's still got that high element that we don't want. Okay, so we can close our EQ now. And underneath the channel EQ on the channel strip here, we want to go down to filter and then auto filter. Mono is fine. Okay, and once we're on here, we want to turn off the envelope and turn off the LFO. Okay, and we want to set the cutoff to around 30%. There we go. And then we can put the fatness up to around 50% here. Okay, so if we listen to that now, it should be a lot more bassier and rumblier. There we go. But the problem is it's still quite thin. So if we go on the distortion here and set the pre-filter to around about 150, and we give it a listen. makes it a lot thicker, that nice bassy rumble sound that we're looking for. Of course, you can change these settings to what you like. I'll probably lower that just a little bit to around 140. Okay, so the next step is we want to create a fade on either end of the earthquake rumble sound, so it comes in and out quite naturally rather than having like a very clicky start stop sound. Okay, so you want to bring up your toolbar and bring up the fade tool. Okay, just put a short fade on the start and end of the track. There you go, and then you can give it a listen to see what it sounds like. You can change the fade how you'd like. I'd probably like it's maybe slightly longer fade at the end there, but of course you can change it to your personal taste. Okay, so the next thing you want to do is bounce it down. So we bring back up the cycle region and press Command B, brings up our bounce menu. Okay, and we can change the sample rate of our track to a lot lower, as it's quite a low frequency track. We don't need the 44.1 sample rate, which of course is just taking up extra memory we don't need. So as you can see, it's currently at 1.8 megabytes. So if we lower this to 1200 sample rate, it brings it down to 491 kilobytes. Okay, and then you want the file format to be WAV, and you can leave the rest as is. Okay, so you click OK, and then I'm going to save mine to my desktop, and we're going to name it Earthquake. Okay, and you just press bounce. Okay, and that's all done. And next I'll show you how to create the system in UE4. Okay guys, as you can see, I'm now on my PC. So the first thing we want to do is get our earthquake rumble sound that we made in Logic Pro 10 and bring it onto your PC. Okay, so what I've done is I've created this earthquake tutorial sounds folder up here on the top left. So open that. What I've done is I've imported the earthquake rumble sound here, and I've just done that via USB for my Mac. What I've also done, I've downloaded 3 different debris sounds, okay? And I've downloaded these from soundsboom.com, which is currently down at the moment, but when it's back up, I'll put links to these sounds in the description box below. So what I've done these for is that as part of Earthquake system, we're going to create a randomly generating debris sound, essentially. So when the earthquake happens, a debris sound will randomly spawn around the player to, you know, bring that bit of atmosphere to the game and make the game feel a bit more tactile for the player. Okay, so as I said, I've just downloaded these online, but I highly recommend you actually designing the sounds yourself. Okay, this can be easily done just with like a basic field recorder, just getting a piece of paper, pouring rice on it, recording that to get it, you know, like nice sand, gravelly falling type effect. But for now, I'll just use these. Okay, right, so what we want to do is if we go on the Epic Games launcher, we want to launch the Unreal Engine. I'm launching 4.17.2. Okay, so I click launch. You can use whatever version of the engine you'd like. I'm just using this one as it's the most recent one I've actually got installed on this computer at this time. Okay, so what we want to do is go on new project. We want to create the first person template. Okay, so I'm just going to name this earthquake underscore tutorial 1. Okay, and I'll create the project. Okay, so as you can see, this is the first person template. And the first thing you want to do is if you click on the content part here, this will take you to the main content browser. Okay, so we're going to right click, create a new folder. We're going to call this sounds. Okay, so we're going to go inside here, and the first thing we want to do is import the sounds that we've previously got. Okay, so if I select these, and then we can, it's literally just simple as dragging and dropping in. Perfect. So if we highlight all these now and press Control S to save them. As you can see, the debris sounds are mono, as these are going to be randomly spawned around the player. They don't need to be stereo, so they don't need to take up that extra memory. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a sound cue for the earthquake rumble. So we right click and go on create cue. And this automatically creates a queue here called earthquake or rumble queue. Just press enter, that's fine. If you double click this, it will open it. Okay, we'll just put that in our tabs there. So the first thing we need to do here is we need to disconnect this, so hold down Alt and click. Okay, and then we want to set the wave player here to looping. And we want to drag off this and create an enveloper. Okay. And the reason why we're doing this is to create a nice fade in and fade out for our earthquake rumble, so there's no like clicks, pops, or anything like that, okay? So what you need to do when you're clicked on your enveloper is double click on the volume curve, which is what we're going to be using to create the fade in, fade out. And what these are here are key points, okay? So these are where you set points of data along the graph, okay? So along the y-axis it's time, and on the x it's volume in this instance, okay? So we need 4 of these, okay? So if you hold down shift and click, 1, 2, 3, we've got our 4 points. So what we need to do is set the time and value points for these. So if this will be our endpoint, so we need to set it to 4 seconds. And the value to 0. For a fade out, we'll do like 0.8 seconds fade out time. So we'll set this point to 3.2 with a value of 1, that's fine. And this is our fade in point, so we'll set that to 0.8 and 1 is fine. And this is our beginning point, so what we'll do, we'll set that to 0 and 0, okay? And then we can just zoom out here to see that nice fade in, continuous sound playing, and fade out, okay? You can close that. Then we just need to put the parameters into the looping section here. So the loop start is 0, that's fine. And loop end, we want to set that to 4 seconds. Duration after loop, we can leave. We want to set the loop count to 1, and we'll just set loop indefinite just in case, okay? And then you just need to connect the enveloper up to the output here, okay? And then what you do is save. And then we can test this works just by clicking play. Play queue up here. You can see we've got a nice fade in and fade out there, okay? So once that's saved, you can close that, okay? And then what we want to do is create a sound queue for our debris sounds, okay? We're going to right click, go on sounds, sound queue, and then we'll call this debris underscore queue, okay? So then if we open this, we can put it under our tabs and drag it down here just so we can import our sounds. So we'll just highlight all our debris sounds, so it's 1, 2, 3 there, and you can just drag them in, okay? And you can put that back up to the top. Move them down. All we're going to do here is simply right click and create a random node, and then we'll add an extra input there, and we just need to connect these up. So our random node is set to randomize without replacement, okay? So all this means is that when it's randomly picking one of these to play, say if it picks 1 to start with, the next one it will pick, it will not pick 1, okay? So there'll be no repeating, so it'll be like 1, 3, 2, it can be 2, 1, 3, whatever order really, but there'll be no repeating, so none of these wave sounds will be played twice in a row, okay? So what we need to do is connect that up to the output and just press save, and we can just test it works just by pressing play queue. And again, okay, so just make sure that's saved and we can close that. Right, so we go back to our content browser page, so click content here, we can right click, create a new folder for our blueprints, and if we double click this and open it, we can create our camera shake. If we right click and go on blueprint class, and then go to all classes, and then we can search for camera shake. There you go, there it is at the bottom there. So we click on that and click select. We can call this our earthquake underscore shake, okay? And then what we need to do, we need to now set our parameters for our earthquake shake, okay? So if we double click that, it'll open it for us, okay? So what we're going to be doing here is affecting the oscillation values, okay? So the oscillation duration should be the same as our earthquake shake. So we'll set that to 4 seconds. We'll do the oscillation blending time of 0.5 and the blend out time of 0.5, okay? And now we need to set the rotation oscillation. So we'll put some pitch in. I'm just going to put some numbers in here that I know will create as a nice sort of subtle sort of earthquake style shake, okay? So feel free to mess around with the numbers I'm putting in to get the effect that you want, okay? So for the amplitude for pitch, I'll just put 1. Frequency, I'll put 50. The yaw, do the same, 1 and 50. The roll, I'll do 0.5. 50. And for the localization oscillation, I'll put some X values in. So I'll do the same. I'll do 1 and 50. And for the Y, I'll do 1 and 50. And then I'll do the same for the Z. 1 and 50. And finally, the FOV oscillation, we'll set that to 0.5 and 50. Okay. We'll compile and save. Okay. And then we can close that. And then what we want to do is open our level blueprint. Okay. So go on blueprints, open level blueprint. Okay. And then first of all, we need to choose what we want to trigger our earthquake system. Okay. So to start with, I'm just going to do an event begin play, but you can do anything such as a trigger or anything really that you can use to trigger stuff. Okay. So I'm just going to right click and do event begin play. And you want to drag off that, create a delay. Okay. And now this delay is going to affect how often our earthquake sound re-triggers. Okay. So what I'm going to do is create a random float in range. Okay. And we'll put our parameters in. So say between 6 and 8 seconds. Okay. So we'll plug that in there. So between every 6 and 8 seconds, this delay will also affect how long the delay is. Okay. Right, so then we need to drag off this and we'll do play world camera shake. Okay. And then we want to select the shake we made. So we go on this drop down menu here and go on earthquake shake, which is one we made. Okay. Then we need to get an epicenter for our shake to occur. So what we're going to do is right click, get player character. Okay. And then we'll drag off this, get actor location. Okay, and then we'll plug that into the epicenter there. Okay. Then what we need to do is just set the outer radius, or we'll say 300. Okay. Right, so that's essentially just the shake being triggered. Okay. So all we need to do now is get the earthquake rumble. So if we drag off here, we'll do spawn sound 2D. Okay. And then we need to search for our earthquake cue we made. So earthquake rumble cue, there it is. Okay. And now what we want to do is create our debris sound. Okay. So we're going to drag off here. And we're going to create another delay because we don't want the sound to spawn instantly. Okay. Let's say we want it to spawn between 0.5 and 1.5 seconds. Okay. So we right click, random float in range. Okay. So we'll do minimum 0.5 to a maximum of 1.5, 1.85 then. And we shall plug that in there. Okay. So we want to drag off this and do spawn sound at location. Okay. And then we're going to search for our debris queue, which is there at the bottom. Okay. So now we need to define a location for the sound to spawn at. Okay. So to do this, what we want to do is get player character again. Okay. And then off this we want get actor location. Okay. And now what we want to do is on the return value, we want to right click and split struct pin. Okay, so what this does, it returns the location of our X, Y, and Z values individually. Okay, so these can be individually manipulated. So what we want to do is we want to change where in relation to the player the sound plays. Okay, so to do this, we want to get the X value, we want to drag off and search for float, add float. Okay. Put that onto the bottom one. And then what we want to do is right click, get a random float in range. And we'll say between -40 and +40 unreal units from the player's location. Okay. And we're going to add that to the X value. So it's either going to -40 from the player's location or add 40 to the player's location. Okay. And then what we're going to do, we're going to do the same for the Y value. So if we select that float box there, press Control C and Control V to copy and paste it. And then we'll do the same for Y. and then we'll do the same for that. Okay, and we're not going to affect the Z value at all because we don't want the height of the debris to change in this instance. But of course you're welcome to do that in your own systems. Okay, so then to add these together to put it into our location for the spawn sound location, we're going to right click and search for vector add float, and there it is. And on the vector A here, you want to do the same, so you want to right click and split struct pin, so we can add the X, Y and Z values independently. So we put the X, Y to Y, and we can take the Z from the get axis location for Z. Okay, and all you need to do is bring that in there. Okay, so this is pretty much our complete system here. We've got the shake and then the debris spawning. Okay, but you may want to have more than one debris sound spawning, which is absolutely fine. So all you need to do is select the system you just made there, just Control C and Control V to copy and paste it. Okay, and then what you need to do is drag off the spawn sound and create a sequence. A sequence essentially allows us to do more than one action off one object at once. Okay, so first of all, it's going to trigger this. Second of all, we want it to trigger this. Okay, and say we want to change the delay value for this, so we'll change that to, we'll say 2 seconds to, we'll say 3. So between 2 and 3 seconds, once it's been activated, the sound will play. Okay, and then one more thing we want to do, if we go back to our debris sound queue in our content sounds debris queue, we just want to change the attenuation parameters for this so it feels a bit more realistic when stuff's getting panned. Okay, so if you click on the output node here, and we tick this box here saying override attenuation, and then we'll go down to attenuation overrides. Okay, we'll leave attenuate and spatialize ticked. We want sphere, and then we'll change the radius to a little bit smaller. We'll say 200. Actually, no, a little bit smaller than that. We'll say 100, and we'll change the fall off distance to 1000. This will just make the panning of the sounds feel a little bit more naturalistic and realistic. Okay, and that's what you need to do. So we save that again, and then we'll close that, and then we can leave this how it is. So we'll compile and save, and now we're ready to test. Okay, so if you go back to your viewport here and click play. Oh, one thing I forgot to do actually, I'll show you. If we want the earthquake to trigger more than once, all you need to do is on your sequence is you can add another pin, and then you can loop that back around to delay. So once it's been triggered, it will automatically re-trigger, so 6 to 8 seconds later the earthquake will trigger again. Of course you can put another delay there, so if I drag off 2 again, I can go here, go delay, I can set that delay to say, we'll say just 2 seconds, so then the whole system won't be repeated for another 2 seconds after that, just in case you want a bit more of a separate time. But of course you can always change the values of this delay here to say 30 and 40 seconds. It depends how frequent you want your earthquakes, or you can always have it as a one-shot thing. And of course this system here, the debris system, is infinitely expandable. So you can copy and paste this multiple times. You can create more variation in the debris sound queue by having more debris sounds. You can change stuff like pitch and volume. You can even have different debris queues depending on what sort of situation you're in. For example, if you're in a cave, if you're in a big sort of rocky area, you want nice big boulders coming down from the earthquake, or if you're in a small area, you might just want little bits of dust. You know, it's things to think about depending on your level. So if you compile and save again, we can now test it. So if you go to your viewport and press play, we wait 6 to 8 seconds, the earthquake thing should trigger. Okay, there you go. So as you heard, we had a different rubble sound coming from the right and left. And again, but a bit more spaced out that time. Okay. So that sort of concludes the tutorial, guys. If you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. And I hope you enjoyed the tutorial.